Today, that exact spot is home to one of the busiest airports on Earth. Over 100 million passengers pass through it every year. It sits surrounded by sea. Typhoons hit the region every summer. Floods tear through nearby coastlines. But this airport, it keeps running every single day. No flood has ever shut it down. This is Incheon International Airport. To understand why South Korea built an airport in the middle of the sea, you need to go back to 1988. That year, Seoul hosted the Summer Olympics. The world watched, millions of people flew in, and South Korea's airports buckled under the pressure.
How can you treat us like this? We demand answers now.
After the 1988 Olympics, international air traffic to South Korea kept growing. By the 1990s, it was clear that Gimpo Airport simply could not handle the number of passengers anymore. Gimpo City was full, overcrowded, out of room to grow. South Korea needed a brand new airport, not a small one, a massive one, big enough to serve all of Northeast Asia, big enough to handle flights from every corner of the world. But where do you put it? First, they looked at Cheongju, a city 124 kilometers southeast of Seoul. Too far away, rejected. Then, they looked at Hwaseong, also rejected. People in Seoul didn't want to travel hours just to catch a flight. So engineers looked west, toward the sea.
We should adjust the turbine placement for the islands.
Between two small islands called Yeongjong and Yeongju, there was a shallow stretch of muddy water. Tidal flats, the kind of place where migratory birds rest. The kind of place most people would look at and see nothing useful. South Korea's engineers looked at it and saw an airport. Yeongjong Island was chosen partly because the water between the islands was shallow, about 2 meters shallower than other options. That made it cheaper and easier to fill in. It was also closer to Seoul and didn't overlap with any military airfields. The decision was made. They weren't going to build near the sea. They were going to build on it. In November 1992, construction began. What happened first sounds almost impossible. Workers had to create land from scratch in the middle of the sea. They needed to build approximately 15.4 square kilometers of new artificial land, created from the tidal flats between the two islands. They didn't find land and build on it. They made the land first, then built the airport on top of it. First, engineers used big machines called dredgers to scoop up sand and sediment from the seafloor. They pumped all of that material into the space between the two islands, slowly, layer by layer, raising the bottom of the sea up toward the surface. But wet sand and mud isn't enough. You can't build runways on soggy ground. A fully loaded passenger jet weighs hundreds of thousands of kilograms. The ground underneath has to be rock solid. So they used a clever technique to harden the soil. Samsung Engineering used a method called prefabricated vertical drain. They filled the area with dredged soil, then added a layer of sand on top. The weight of that sand squeezed water out of the soft soil below, forcing it to compact and harden. Picture squeezing a soaking wet sponge. The water gets pushed out. What's left is smaller, denser, stronger. That's exactly what they did, but with millions of tons of seabed material. The big fear was that the ground would slowly sink over time. Engineers worried that building on reclaimed tidal flats could cause the ground to sink. But after construction was complete, almost no sinking happened. The expected future settlement was less than 5 centimeters. Small enough to fix with basic maintenance work. 5 centimeters on land that used to be the seafloor. That's incredible. The new land connected the two islands into one solid platform. The shallow sea between Yeongjong and Yeongju simply disappeared. Both islands and the new reclaimed land became one district, part of Incheon City. South Korea had literally added new land to its own map. Once the ground was ready, building could begin. Construction on Terminal 1 started on May 23, 1996. The first phase included a passenger terminal covering 496,000 square meters, 2 parallel runways, a control tower, 3 cargo terminals, and a full operations center. The terminal became South Korea's largest building, an arc-shaped structure with 46 gates, built to serve up to 100 million passengers a year. The design wasn't just about size. Architects drew inspiration from traditional Korean palaces, giving the terminal curved roof lines that echo the look of ancient Korean buildings. Standing inside, you'd never know you were surrounded by sea. Then, they had to connect the island to the mainland. Samsung built the Incheon Bridge, a 21.4-kilometer cable-stayed bridge, linking the airport island to the South Korean mainland. Without that bridge, reaching the airport would mean taking a boat. The whole project took 8 years to finish, plus another 6 months of testing. It was supposed to open in 1997, but the Asian financial crisis hit South Korea hard and delayed everything. South Korea's economy nearly collapsed in 1997. Companies shut down overnight. The country needed an emergency bailout from the International Monetary Fund, and yet they kept building. Incheon International Airport officially opened on March 29, 2001, just in time for the 2002 FIFA World Cup, which South Korea hosted alongside Japan. The country needed its new gateway ready. It was. Here is the question that makes you stop and think. This airport is surrounded by sea. South Korea gets hit by strong typhoons every single summer. The nearby coastlines flood regularly. So how does the airport stay dry? The first answer is simple: height. Incheon Airport was built 7 meters above mean sea level. That wasn't an accident. Engineers built the reclaimed land up to a height that puts it safely above normal storm surge levels. Critics said Yeongjong Island was a terrible place for an airport. They warned about tsunamis, storms, and environmental problems. But after careful study, engineers concluded it was actually the best possible choice. The right height, the right distance from Seoul, and good natural protection from the worst of the weather. The third answer is in the ground itself. The way the land was built, with water forced out of the soil under pressure, created a foundation that handles water differently from natural floodplains. Natural low-lying land near the sea acts like a sponge. It soaks up floodwater. The compacted reclaimed land at Incheon doesn't behave the same way. The drainage systems built into the airport's foundations were designed from day one to move water away fast. But scientists are not completely relaxed about the future. Research using satellite data found that Incheon Airport has been gradually sinking, around 28.5 centimeters per year. That's not a crisis today, but it is a number that engineers are watching carefully. Greenpeace Korea has warned that if a major typhoon strikes in the 2030s, made stronger by rising sea levels from climate change, the airport could face serious flooding. This is the honest reality. The engineers who built Incheon did an extraordinary job working with the knowledge and climate data of the 1990s. The challenge now is that the climate is changing faster than anyone predicted back then. The airport stands strong today. What it faces in the future depends on decisions being made right now about emissions, seawalls, and how South Korea manages rising water. Here's something that surprised even the people who built it. When Incheon first opened, many people thought the plan was too big, too expensive, too ambitious. From the start, Critics said the airport was too large and cost too much. They didn't think air travel demand would grow to the level that was planned for. They were wrong. Every year since it opened, more planes, more passengers, and more cargo have moved through Incheon. So South Korea kept expanding. Phase 2 added a third runway, 4,000 meters of fresh asphalt, plus a new cargo area and a large concourse. An underground shuttle train was installed to move passengers between the main terminal and the new concourse. Phase 3 built an entirely new second terminal. Terminal 2 used locally quarried Korean granite and traditional Korean wood for its floors. The roof was fitted with solar panels. Inside, travelers walk past indoor gardens with waterfalls, streams, and koi ponds. It looks more like a luxury park than a place to catch a flight. Phase 4 finished in late 2024. It expanded Terminal 2 even further and added a fourth runway. The airport can now handle 106 million passengers every year, and they are already planning Phase 5. The next phase includes a fifth runway and a third terminal aimed at low-cost airlines. When it's all done, Incheon is expected to handle 130 million passengers a year through a place that was open sea 3 decades ago. In 2026, Skytrax ranked Incheon the second best airport in the entire world. Only Singapore's Changi Airport ranked higher. Incheon also won the title of world's most family-friendly airport that same year. From 2005 to 2011, Incheon was ranked number 1 in the world every single year by the Airports Council International. 7 years straight, no other airport came close. Passengers love it because it's easy, signs are clear, transfers are smooth, walking distances are manageable, and staff are consistently rated as professional and helpful. It even has its own ice rink inside the terminal. Under your feet, beneath the polished granite floors, the indoor gardens, the glowing departure boards, is not solid rock. It's sand, carefully pressed, seabed, drained and hardened into solid ground by engineers who refused to accept that the sea was a barrier. South Korea looked at open water and said, "We'll build here." And they did. And now, every single day, thousands of planes take off and land on it, without passengers giving it a second thought. That's the real genius of great engineering. When it works perfectly, you never even notice it.